How are you guys? So, come on up, Micah. Sophia. Oh, there. So, I'm Mikeerrico, and you are making the hymn. Thank you for being here. This is the maiden voyage of the hymn. First things first, I want to give a couple of thank yous to some people. First, to the New York City Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment, sponsoring the night tonight. This is part of a month-long initiative called New York Music Month. June was New York Music Month. Did you know that? Right. Every month is New York Music Month. They've had a bunch of amazing programs all through the month that they've underwritten, and us. So amazing. To the many people who helped us shepherd through the paperwork of working with New York City. Peter Schwingy and Shira Gans, thank you. And most especially to the Bitter End and Paul Rizzo for having us. Please, a hand for this is the first place I ever really got a gig, so that's why I thought it was really important and special for me to bring this here, the maiden voyage of this happening. So what is it? What is the hang? So here's what the hang is. I've been teaching for about 9 years at all different schools, and you're all 1, 2, 3 different schools, 2 different schools represented here, but many others will be. High schools, weird retreats in the woods, strange covens of songwriters up in the hills. And what I noticed was that these people need to know each other, or they should meet each other across schools, but also across years. I feel like, people who were seniors when I started should meet the people who are freshmen now, et cetera, et cetera. So what I did is I created this thing called The Hang. It started as a newsletter, and then it went off to Facebook. I went big on Facebook, all in on Facebook for social media. That tanked, and everybody left. It was a secret Facebook page, of course, just to make it better. And then I tried to unsecret it, and you can't do that on Facebook. But it didn't matter because everyone had left and gone over to Instagram, where it presently lives. So it's on Instagram under the handle at Make the Hang. So that is a constant stream, especially the stories of the people who now, it's almost 1,000 people in the 9 years I've taught, and all the incredible things that they're doing. So technically what I do is I teach songwriting, but I have noticed over the years that people diversify. People decide, oh, you know what, I don't want to do that. I don't want to live in a Motel 6. Or I do want to live in a Motel 6 or in a van for whatever amount of time. Or I love writing songs, but I don't like playing them. I have stage fright, whatever, I want to write for other people. Or I love the act of creating, but not the act of doing other stuff. So I like producing. Or people get into gear, people get into the equipment, into the processes, various different processes. All of which are incredible successes, and I find them to be incredible successes of this weird thing where everybody just kind of needs to know everybody, and everyone really, without knowing it, has been working together in a very interactive kind of way. So what I've been doing is just trying to give a place where people can find a drummer, or find a mastering engineer. Very interestingly, Gabby has mastered maybe most of the music that's going out of this room. Stuff like that. So things like that. So these are the things that can be had here. And I guess the question for the night is, where else can songwriting take you? What is a win for you? Because a win for you is not a win for the next. And so what all these things look like, and how can these things actually become like an option or an opportunity for you to rethink your own creative lives? and still revolve around the song, which is, I think, what we all have done. So, the night, the way we're going to do this, 2 sets, 1 intermission, there's 4 folks here, quick break to chit-chat, refresh our beers, etc., whatever. There's a 2-drink minimum, interestingly, no maximum. So we'll do that, and then we'll have 4 other people come up. So, first set, here we are. I'm going to read out the quick bios because, like, these kind of panels can die at the bio stage, so, like, concise. So Sophia D'Angelo is a New York City born vocalist and songwriter in the band Michelle on Atlantic Records. They've appeared internationally with artists like Mitski, Bristol Maroney, and Arlo Parks, and at festivals including Outside Lands, All Things Go, and this year's Governor's Ball. This summer they'll be at Lollapalooza in Chicago alongside up-and-comers, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Billie Eilish, and Lana Del Rey. So be kind to them. It's good to be kind on the way up, because, whoever knows. Michael Feldman Stein is a musician, software engineer, and creative technologist who has worked extensively in the generative AI music space, most recently at Amber. Currently, he's working on an AI platform to help people extend their creative writing projects. Under the artist name Micah, he released Note to Self in 2021 and is following it up with a single, Headlines, which drops very soon. Very soon. Imminently. Oh, it may have just dropped. No, I don't know. Gabby Grella, the aforementioned, is a mastering engineer who has... There you go. Let's go. Who has amassed over 800 releases spanning from singles to albums to podcasts and TV show soundtracks. She graduated about 10 minutes ago. 800 releases. She is currently building a home mastering studio in Morristown, New Jersey. Just hands. Who has been mastered by Gabby Grella? There's one. There's one. There's you. There's 3 in the back. Interesting. Justin Friedman, to my left, runs artist relations for Bond Audio, which includes the renowned brands D'Angelico Guitars, Supro Amps, and Pigtronics. Pigtronics, so good. He is also an accomplished producer in the hip-hop space who has credits with artists including Lil Peep, Hoya, Mike Dean, Brennan Savage, Fat Nick, and I Love McConan. Interestingly, do you know Aries Carter? Yeah. He co-wrote something, and when I saw I Love McConan, I'm like, oh my God, there it is. That's the synergy of the hang right there. Besides Gabby, and besides all the other relationships that we have. Okay, the bios are out. I want to start with you, Sophia D'Angelo.
Hello.
Because you need to start this with a song, right? I mean, a song thing starts with a song, correct? So I will give it to you.
To play a song?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Let's do that.
I hope I prepared something. Hi everyone. I did prepare something. I'm going to play a song called Lily. I wrote the song with my friends Emma and Sabrina. Basically, I hear a lot of breakup songs about partners, but I don't hear a lot of breakup songs about the friends you made that you can't see anymore because you broke up with your person. But like, so about those friends. So this is about that. This is called Lily. I was talking to Lily and I felt love. Took a break from the city and all that stuff. Sun kissed red on our faces in a mushroom haze, and I swore I could taste it. The waves were the same. And it felt good sign? Should I come back? Could I rewind? If you're asking, not a good sign. I was talking to Wyatt, and I felt fine. There was 10 years between us, but no divide. You can't count all the stars when you roll this hard. And I swore it got better, now it seems so far, so far. And it felt sure, did it feel right? If you're asking, not a good sign. Should I come back? Could I rewind? If you're asking, not a good sign. Why do I keep coming back to this? Losing friends, making plans, coming back to this. Picking fights, drawn out nights, coming back to this. Screaming out from the crowd, coming back to this. Losing out on the crowd, coming back to this. Holding on to what's gone, coming back to this. And it felt short, did it feel right? Should I come back?
What was the sign? The line? If you have to ask, not a good sign.
Yeah.
Love.
If you're asking, not a good sign.
Love.
If I'm asking, not a good sign.
Such a good line. Okay, so you co-wrote that.
I did.
You did.
I did. With Emma Body and Sabrina Song.
Oh, both members of the Hang, yes.
Both of them. Hey.
I'll stop saying that. I want to know about songwriting, about co-writing.
Co-writing.
Now, how did you go about doing that?
I do a lot of it now. When I started writing songs, I did it alone. When we met, I was still doing it alone, and then working with you like assigned it, so I like had to start doing it, and then I'm so glad you forced me to, because I do it professionally now with my band. And co-writing is such a unique space because you have to like leave egos at the door, and it's easy when the roles are defined. Like if I'm writing for me, it's nice that Emma and Sabrina know, like, oh, like we have to be here like for Sophia, and like this is like what she needs to say and what she wants to say, and it's our job to like help her say it. And like I've been in their shoes for other artists before, but with Michelle, there's 6 people, and it's a little bit more interesting because Michelle is like a collective, it's a hive mind. So it's not, sometimes we'll write for like if someone brings in a song or they have something that they're going through, we'll be there for them to like help them communicate what they want to share. But for the most part, it's like the hive mind.
Do you all just get in the room and you're like, okay, who's had a terrible moment?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, okay, who's got it? Or sometimes I'll just be like, like, we need to do this.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's just a vibe, and Julian and Charlie, one of the producers, they'll bring a vibe or see how we're feeling, and then we'll see what the melodies are, we'll see what the what the lyrical mumble jumble is when you're singing those melodies and go from there.
I have to ask because people probably want to know, the songwriters, how do you split the credit and the writing? I mean, we're not going to go too far into the weeds, but like...
I mean, with 6 people is a lot of people. For the most part, if you wrote on it, you get a cut, and then if not, it's automatically 5% so that everyone's happy in the band.
5%
So,
no matter.
if you, yeah, like a lot of like, what's a song? Let's say like Pose, for example.
Mhm.
I did not write on that song, but I get 5% because I do be working to help that song get
Good
somewhere,
deal.
and we're on the band. And you just hear a lot of horror stories of people not figuring out splits and coming for cash later, rightfully or wrongfully, and it being just like a headache. So I think this is like the fairest way to ensure that, you know, people get credited fairly, because like I didn't write that song. I don't need it. Some people feel differently. Some people feel like I didn't write it, but like I deserve the credit. Like,
Yeah.
no thanks.
The splits are what break a band up,
Exactly.
more often than not.
That's why they're called the splits.
There you go. So,
I did a split right now.
okay, so dealing with splits. Your most recent song is called The Peach.
The beach.
Yes, Michelle just came out with a great song, but also what I noticed on my TikTok is a lot of people dancing to it. Now,
It's mostly us, honestly, but hopefully there's more people. But 6 people is a lot of people dancing to the beach. Yeah.
I thought that there are a lot of videos and stuff, but I wanted to ask a little bit about social media. Disaster, right?
Social media, that is definitely one way to put it. Sure, yeah. Disaster, you know, dumpster fire, but also it had me crying, laughing this morning. I mean, where else are you gonna find Low by Flo Rida, but in the style of the Price is Right theme song? Only on
Where
social
indeed?
media. I'll send it to you. I found it this morning.
I want to ask a little bit more about social media, but I want to sort of hold on to it for a second and move from the genesis of the song to the very last part of it, which is the mastering process. And we'll talk to Gabby about this for a moment. Every song, am I right? Every song on the radio has been mastered.
Yes, I'd say 9 times out of 10. Sometimes if you can get a mix to the point where you feel it might not need mastering, some people will just submit it to distributors. But yes, most songs have mastering.
Okay. Next question, what is mastering?
Yeah.
That's always the question. It's always the thing you have to do. It's kind of like a colonoscopy. It's like you have to do it. And you hear that it was great, everything was fine, and then what? We're not in class. It's okay.
I was just thinking like the prep of a colonoscopy. It's not that intense as colonoscopy, but you know.
Anyway.
Yeah, come to me. It's like a music colonoscopy.
What has to happen? What is mastering?
Okay, so the way that I basically define mastering is it is the last step of a song before it goes to radio. A huge part of it is making sure that the level of your client's song is the same as anybody else's song that's going to be released. You know how sometimes you'll hear a song that's a lot quieter, but one will be just a lot louder? That's mastering. So those shouldn't be like that. Everything should be the same, and that's the goal of a mastering engineer, to do that. And I like to kind of relate it to, this isn't as good as a colonoscopy, but I relate it to baking a bit.
Same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So like the mixing engineer takes all the ingredients, it's all measured, it's all very precise, put it in, mix it, bake it, right? And then what I do is we put the icing on, the little cherry on top, some sprinkles, so we're not changing any of the flavors of anything.
Nice.
We are just adding a little enhancement to the top and just coming in as a second opinion to give anything, if we have any advice, any sparkle.
That is just so much better than a colonoscopy.
Teach his own. You know.
So, but here's what I want to know. You came through songwriting and then found mastering later
Yes.
on. What was that trip like?
Yeah, so I actually applied to the Clive Davis Institute as a songwriter. I did summer high school and was on the songwriting track. Marat was a huge part of that. And yeah, we love Marat. And basically, during the summer high school program, we took a trip to Sterling Sound, which is a mastering studio that was in New York, but is now in Edgewater, New Jersey. And I just didn't really know that mastering existed, I guess. I didn't really know that anything besides songwriting existed. I just, taking the engineering courses going through Clive too, I was just like, wow, there's so much about making a song that I just had no idea about. And after visiting the mastering studio, I was like, oh wow, this is something that I could see myself doing. And moving through Clive and taking engineering courses with Jim Anderson, Bob Power, I started to figure out that I really liked dealing with gear and working behind the scenes and having, I guess, it's still a collaborative role, but it's also like a bit independent too, I guess. And I kind of just would like beg my friends to send me their songs. My one friend, Malik English, I'd be like, please, just send me your stuff. You don't have to release it, but just, let me practice. And the more I did, I found that I got better at it, started to intern at Sterling Sound, and took a mastering course my junior year, and that kind of just solidified it for me. I just really, really like it. And I also still do songwrite just on the side, so it's best of both worlds.
So it's a dark art, it's very a mysterious type of thing.
Yeah.
But I wonder, how do you balance your art with your instincts with your client, who's like, just make it louder, just make it more like Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
I don't care that it's a Phoebe Bridgers type song.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes like at the end of the day, the artist is our client, so I am working for them. My ultimate job is to make them happy with it. So sometimes, I kind of pick and choose my battles. If there is something that I feel wrong with the mix that maybe is just something that really could be tweaked to make the song better. Sometimes I'll give my input, other times I will just, if they're very sure on what they want to do, they like what they've sent, then I will just pretty much do what they ask. But it can get a little dicey, but I feel like we're able to get to a place where we're both ultimately happy, because I also try to develop relationships with my clients too, so that I'm able to kind of give my opinion rather than it being the dark arts, like the Wizard of Oz, some man behind a curtain.
Right.
I don't want to be that. I want to be someone you can talk to and collaborate.
It's just better, I don't know why. What did she do? Who knows? That's a lot what it's like. Also, there's that saying, you can fix it in a mix. You cannot fix it in a mastering, can you?
Yeah, a lot of times some people will be like, what did you, like can you fix this, that, the other thing? And a lot of times, yeah, I can't, because it's in the mix, but that's why you develop relationships with the mix engineers. And you can get to a point where you can fix it. And also, a lot of people sometimes ask me opinions about masters, and I'm like, okay, you need to send me the mix as well, because I'm not going to know what's wrong with the master if I can't hear the mix and tell what changed from A to B.
Right. And stylistically, you're all over the place, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you don't know what's going to come in the door.
I
That must be refreshing.
It is. I know that there are definitely some engineers that pick a style and they really focus all of their energy on that. They want to be like an expert in that, and I totally like that, totally respect that. I kind of try to be able to at least be able to work with any genre. I always kind of say that if it's a good mix, it doesn't really matter what the genre is, in my opinion. There are certain aspects of certain genres that it's, you have to know that the bass has to hit in like certain genres and the guitar needs to shine in other genres. And so that's really important to know. But I feel that if you really have a good foundation and you know what you're looking and listening for, then you can pretty much work with any good mix.
Awesome. Okay. All right. And you guys chime in at whatever, if you have anything to say. I want to move to Justin Friedman right here. And the guitar. And the guitar, of course, an essential tool in songwriting. And D'Angelico in particular, not to blow smoke, but I watch the trades, the guitar kind of world, and D'Angelico has made a move in the past 9 years, for sure, where it was completely dominated by a couple of just very big brands. D'Angelicos are finding their way into songwriters' hands, into artists' hands, different creative artists of all stripes. That's you. That's you doing that.
I guess so.
How did you come to D'Angelico from where you started? You started as a jazz person.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Mike, I just wanted to thank you for this because
Okay.
it's very rare that like you go through college and your professors don't always stay in touch. And Mike has just done such a good job of like keeping up with everyone. And it's so flattering. So, yeah, I mean, I was a jazz guitar. I got into jazz growing up in New York City. I had a teacher named Joe Carbone. He was a mafioso-looking guy. Somehow worked at my high school. Had like the cufflinks and the pinky ring, and like
That's a story.
drove like a 1990 Saab like convertible, and like he and you know after like 3 years of like filling up the water coolers and like getting him coffee in the morning, he finally was like one day he was showing me some stuff, and he said he called me Jay. He said, Jay, look in the case in the cupboard. I have something I want to show you. And there was this old guitar case, like this old leather guitar case ripped up, and he said, open it. And I saw and got to play a 1936 D'Angelico guitar. And for those of you who don't know, D'Angelico originally was a guy named John D'Angelico, and he built guitars just right here on Kenmare Street. And in his life, made 1,164 instruments, which are today regarded as like the Stradivarius of guitars. I mean, original D'Angelicos probably start, you know, at 20,000 now, all the way up to, you know, six figures. So, as a 15-year-old kid getting to play an original D'Angelico guitar, it had a profound impact. And after I had graduated college, and I wasn't sure, like every musician struggling with existential shit, I was like, well, what do I do? And I saw that D'Angelico was in the early stages of making a comeback, and I just said that's what I want to do. So I wrote in and got an interview, and a couple months later they hit me with a job offer. So that was how it started.
Amazing. Can we fast forward to what you have here?
Sure. Do you want me to?
Yeah. But this is one of those. It's not a "you're old" moment, but it was him telling me that I'm old. I went to the D'Angelico showroom, and he was like, "Check out some guitars," and I'm like, "Wow!" I was checking out these guitars, and some of them have this beautiful glossy finish, and some are sort of more satin finish. And I was like, "I don't know, man. I kind of like the glossy." And he's like, "Yeah, you know, the older cats like that kind of thing."
I don't remember saying that, but it sounds like something I would say.
And I've come to like the satin finishes, I will say, but it was a moment, and it was excellent. But tell me about this.
So yeah, I mean, one of the cool things I get to do, not only is work with artists, you know, kind of endorsement level, but it's also sometimes I get to design guitars with artists. And I wanted to bring this guitar today. It's one of our newest models, which we designed with a great jazz guitarist based here in New York named Mark Whitfield, and he's probably played here, you know, a lot. And we had this idea. Mark is someone who's played these big hollow body jazz guitars, you know, usually from like boutique builders, and we wanted to make something that was like had kind of the essence of an archtop guitar that you would see, you know, from back in like the 50s, but like bring it down into something small. So this is like what we call a semi-hollow size, but on the inside it's totally hollow. It has a floating pickup, which doesn't obstruct the resonance of the wood, a floating bridge, and kind of all these little appointments that kind of give it, you know, you can still do that Freddie Green. And you can still get that that sound.
Sure.
And that was kind of the goal with this guitar, and I think we nailed it.
I have to say, I like the glossy finish also. Interesting that you chose it.
You know, I think that was the seed. I went home and I felt really bad, and I said, you know, we just gotta. We don't make many matte finished guitars, sand finished guitars anymore, so you won.
Well, yeah. Could you play something?
Sure. As an homage to my teacher, who actually he passed away, Joe Carbone, I'll play a song that he taught me, a solo jazz piece called "Darn That Dream," which is a beautiful song. So I'll give it my best shot.
It is so nice to be around someone who can do that.
Little New York moment there, you
It
know.
was really fun. You find people to endorse. Who makes the cut?
I don't think there's a metric that we look for. I mean, I think the way when I started, there was only like 10 guitar accounts on Instagram that had followings, and I was like the guy who first gave guitars to those people. And now it's, you know, as we've been talking about, social media is like a vortex, and I think it really comes down to, I think we get a lot of people reaching out to us who want to work with us, and it's really finding the people who are kind of like the most passionate about what we do and kind of seeing the organic connection. Because at the end of the day, like, I used to approach it where, oh, we're a competitor to Fender, or we're a competitor to Paul Reed Smith, or all these other great companies. And you know, I was at Sweetwater last week, and they brought all the brands out, and I got to talk to all the reps, and I realized, like, these are all great people, and they're all great instruments, and it really just, I think every instrument has its place. Like, you can't find a Fender that's like this, but we also don't make a Strat. So I think it's really about that organic connection, and then from there, there's, you know, all sorts of stuff we do together.
Not to forget also the Supro amp. That's another part of your whole thing. An amazing. That's another storied brand.
Yes. So we acquired Supro and Victronics, which was they were together about 3 years ago, and Supro similar to D'Angelico is a revival brand. So they were really famous by Jimmy Page, actually. He recorded all their early Zeppelin stuff on a Supro, and so it had such a powerful brand story really from that, and so now we get to do amps, and it's equally as fun and cool. So
I mean, what else? I can't think of a job that suits. You must just be like, how did this happen?
well, I mean, it's you know, like I think I had one friend who worked in real estate from college, and we were like joked that we were like the last two people that have had the same job for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw her for the first time in a while, and she was like, "Oh, like I moved on, so you're it." So
Nice,
yeah, so it's been a good ride.
amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Micah, I'm going to start just with a story that Matt Wang, who you'll meet in the next set, sent me a video of AI Elvis Presley singing "Baby Got Back," and I'm getting this all the time. I'm getting historical impossibilities sent to my inbox regularly. Are you freaked out by the capabilities of AI, and how do you sort of approach it as both a songwriter and as a technologist?
Yes, a little bit. I think anxiety is sort of a part of excitement, no matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of it. You see something incredibly powerful and extraordinary and life-changing happen, and you're like, oh no, but then also you're like, oh yeah. So a little bit of that.
Well put. That is exactly what I think about, because I feel like a story, like news stories, bad news travels from it, usually, right?
Of course.
So there are so many ways that people have conjured how AI is going to, I don't know, enslave humanity and then take off, basically, build its own stuff and move to some other place.
Sure,
Or
yeah.
whatever, right? But how can it be used for good? How can this be a positive force for something?
Yeah, first of all, it's gonna be okay. Let me just put that out there. You're all gonna be fine. I feel like there's always this like palpable anxiety with a group of artists when you're like, you ever walk into a room and be like, I make AI that makes what you make for your job. You don't make friends that way. But they're gonna be, it's gonna be fine. There are an incredible breadth of ways that this is going to vastly improve so many of our lives in so many ways, I think. And I think the thing that's exciting to me about it as a creative person is it's the collaborator that we've all wanted in the room at 3 a.m. when we can't call anyone else. It's this amazing resource when you have that question about whether or not, you know, what you're maybe like trying to contextualize a lyric that you wrote, and you're trying to maybe understand it a little better, and you're trying to extrapolate off of it. It is an opportunity. It's a tool. I think a lot of times the similar conversations we're having right now were had when the synthesizer came out, and we look at those old synthesizers, like the old Casios, and we laugh at them because they're silly and bad in many ways. But more importantly, is they're just a novelty. They speak of a time and place. They bring a tone, a texture, a vibe to a thing that you're creating. And I think that's what we're really looking at right now. It's a fantastic new tool that we're really just starting to understand. And of course, the first reaction is fear. Of course, the first reaction is a little bit of panic. But, you know, I think it's an opportunity more than anything else. And I think it's that's really the way that we can use it for good.
I think more panic, less fear, I would think. Like, I think people think they're going to be answering to their own microwaves, right? I mean,
Well,
like,
for sure. I think usually the microwave knows better than us when it comes to cooking, at least for me. I mean,
in any language. So you actually worked at a place called Amper, and can you explain sort of like what you guys were up to, what they were up to, whatever?
Yeah, the basic idea of it was we wanted to create some sort of semantic relationship, so mood word descriptors, so like things like happy, sad, energetic, aggressive, cinematic, ambient, words like that, and how they correlate towards some reasonably consistent output musically. So the idea was to create music that was reflective of those sort of semantic inputs that would result in consistent emotional output. Now that sounds really technical. Basically, what that meant was we were trying to do functional music, so music that would undercut or underscore advertisements, music that was supposed to evoke a very specific feeling at a specific time for a very specific length of time, and that was the intention. I can sort of go into more of what that meant. From my side of things, that was about figuring out what kind of harmonies corresponded to these words, what kind of rhythmic progressions corresponded to these words. More specifically, one of the more exciting things I got to work on was figuring out what samples got picked from a breadth of recorded samples by professional recording engineers out in LA who worked for like Hans Zimmer. Those were the guys who started it. Of samples for guitar, deciding, like, for example, like how to voice a chord in cinematic ambient uplifting, what progressions were chosen, what samples were chosen, how much fret noise was put in there, and how that was different from something like there is nothing that is happening in a computer that's going to be innovative with these AI models. Having worked with them, they take an aggregation of everything that exists that they are taught on, and they can do a really great job of finding features and information about it, patterns that we might not even recognize. We can learn an immense amount about what already is from them, and they will do that very well. However, they will not create something brand new. There is no replacement for a new genre of music happening in a community between people who are collaborating, who are sharing a life experience and growing something together. That is all and always will be the thing that creates new and the important art that drives us all forward. I don't think that any artist in here would be satisfied doing something that is exactly what already exists. I think the act of self-expression is innately one of novelty and innovation. And I think that is something that in an environment where we have a very clear representation of everything that already is, actually increases in value significantly. Your innovation, the novelty you bring, that sense of self and expression that you bring, that is the most important thing. And I think that's clearer now than ever as we have these sort of AI tooling that can do what's been done. That is the next thing. You are the next step. So
Amazing. Now, you have started something else, right?
Sure.
An AI, what did you call it? A platform for music making that would assist in original music making or something.
Yeah, the thing I'm working on right now, it's less in the music world, and I think it sort of operates more on what AI is most effective at right now, which is in the writing and the writing of text. And working on a thing that helps you build out your stories. If you're a story writer, it helps you fill out your world, understand the premise of how to build a meaningful world to write a story in my case, write a Dungeons & Dragons campaign in, or play a tabletop role-playing game in, and sort of expand that. I think that's something that is very helpful as a creative person to sort of, if you're starting to get into a new field of creative media, to know the way to get to a point where you feel like you've expressed. And I think it can be very helpful in guiding the creative process. So that's something I'm working on right now. It's basically a way of building a notebook for yourself with the help of these assistive and generative tools. Yeah.
I feel like I've seen an analog to that with Photoshop, right? Where you take a picture and you can scale it out and it'll finish the picture, like that,
Yeah.
whatever is outside the border.
Absolutely.
It's sort of
It's very similar to that, and I think that's it's sort of that's a great analogy, because at the end of the day, the composition of that photo, the subject matter and what's in it is still yours. It just sort of fills out the edges and helps it feel a little bit more full. And for the next time you take a photo, maybe you have a greater sense of clarity about what you'd like to see in it. I think that's an amazing opportunity as a creative person.
It's wild just sort of watching, because you're one of the earlier, both of you, one of the earlier classes that I've taken, so you've had the longest ramp, and you've gone into such interesting and yet related fields, and so it's been really amazing to watch. Thank you for all of that. You kind of calmed me down also. I feel a little bit more like, less like buying a grain silo and fortifying it with cinder blocks or something. Amazing. I would like to sort of wrap the first set. Would you play us out, Sophia?
Yeah.
Just give us a period on the sentence.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Tell me why I feel better and worse after that. I'm like,
Really?
Yeah.
Micah does that. You should hear the songs. No.
It's like, can AI do this? And then but like, Mike is like, it can actually.
I like how my comparison was a colonoscopy and his was like a picture that like is.
I work with what I have. That's it.
Yeah. You put that on my website.
Sorry. Alright, this one's called No Idea. I still don't really take care for you. I still don't really take care for you. Still feeling blessed for knowing you. Still feeling blessed for knowing you. But I don't want your sticky residue, your breath and my love. Communicating what it means to feel stuck. What am I left over from this with my nerves are so rough? No idea you never loved me like that. No, you never loved me like that. Oh, I don't need to ever know what went through my head a year ago. What went through my head a year ago. But I don't want your sticky residue, your breath and my love. Communicating what it means to feel stuck. What am I left over from this with my nerves are so rough? No idea you never loved me like that. No, you never loved me like that. No, you're still around when I come back. No, why am I still falling so fast? No, never loved me.
Okay, so thank you, and thank you, all.
for having us.
A couple things I want you to know. Those papers, if you flip them over, there's a QR code, and there, what's there is a playlist, a Spotify playlist of what is coming out from the Hang in 2023, constantly updates. You can follow it, and it is one of the most. It is more than predictive because there are amazing songs go on it way before the algorithm finds out. Because this stuff is just coming out of Gabby Grella's studio, and Shazam hasn't Shazammed it yet, and so you're way ahead of the curve. And if you are to scroll down that list, you will see that I am actually underselling. Also, drink coasters are yours to keep. Oh, yes, and there they are for you. I want to take a brief time. We're going to reset. Have 4 new folks. Stick around, meet each other, talk to each other.
Thanks,
All right?
everyone.
We'll talk to you
Thanks for
soon.
coming.